Hey, what's up, everybody? We got a pretty nasty correction over the last couple days. I mean, this thing is pretty big, pretty steep, pretty impulsive. That's we gotta take that very seriously over the next couple weeks because if this thing has somewhat of a three-way pullback, let me get rid of that real quick, and let me just go to Bitcoin here. So if you look at Bitcoin and you look at the way it's coming down, this is not the way we want it to come down, right? A we want a wavy, flagging out type of correction, right? If you look at the way it's coming down impulsive. In fact, it's coming down much more impulsive than the way it came up. You see the way it came up, it was more corrective. This is like bam, straight down. So that doesn't mean, we're going down into reaccumulation, but it just means, the selling pressure is definitely in full force. So I still am looking at this area. I mean, we're barely in this area, so we still have a lot of wiggle room to the downside, technically. We still have this trend line here. So anywhere in this vicinity, we really need it to hold support. And if we can see maybe it's not nice looking, but maybe somewhat of a ascending triangle, something like that. That would be kind of our, Hail Mary right there. And I think, if we get down there, we got to watch the way it comes back up. Specifically in here, do we get 5 waves? Do we get 3 waves? Now this, right, it looks like a 5-wave move, but honestly, you can say, like I've been saying, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, 3, B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C. So it's only an ABC. We still needed 4 and 5 to make it a 5-wave move, but we didn't get it, right? So that's only an ABC. So what do we need to see now? And as I'm saying this, I mean, Bitcoin's still dumping. I mean, it's still like, just go to the 1 minute. I mean, you're at the bottom of the bottom there. And you're bottlenecking too. Look at this. You're sort of bottlenecking in here. So this could have a big drop coming in pretty soon. So we'll see. When I go to XRP though, I mean, it seems like it's slowed down a little bit. It's towards the top of the range in here, right? So we're kind of building a little bit of a range potentially. I mean, as of now, it's only a 3-wave move. So looking at it on the extreme zoomed in, we have a 1, 2, 3. This looks like a flat for a wave 4. And then maybe we come down and get a wave 5. And then that's the bottom. So at least for a short-term correction back to the upside. Because this, the structure of the chart kind of got wiped out a little bit. But that's why we talked about the idea for liquidity. Remember I said there's a lot of liquidity resting below these stop losses, just like there was a lot of liquidity resting above here. So they like to bounce the range. They'll break the range, get everybody bullish, right? And then they'll slam it back down, taking out this bottom part here, all of the positions here. They'll take it around, and then they'll play around, and then hopefully we can continue this uptrend, which I think we will. I think we're in oversold conditions. You have the whole Iran thing going on. You got the election going on. You got uncertainty right now. So we had a pretty big dump, right? I mean, we were sitting at 66 cents, and now we dumped all the way down to 56 and a half. And I said it, don't be surprised, right? If we have to come all the way back down into this range again. I was thinking more we can back test the top of the range. But again, XRP cannot escape the wrath of Bitcoin, as it's coming down. But on one hand, when we zoom out, now this is the short-term stuff. Just remember that. Now, when we zoom out, it actually looks like a decent ascending triangle right now. So don't forget, right? We had 5 waves up, right? And you can see this, this triangle in the making here, right? We got 3 down, 3 up, 3 back down, 3 back up, right? And now we have this pretty big correction here. So if I take this trend line and I kind of fidget with it a little bit, we could see maybe a move up and then back down. And that would be A, B, C, D, and E. That would be an Elliott wave ascending triangle as opposed to a contracting triangle. So, and I kind of like that, right? Because a lot of triangles in the price of XRP, you got a triangle here, here, here. I mean, this whole thing you can say is a triangle. So, but to get an ascending triangle is pretty unique. So we'll see how this continues to progress. But what I will say is we took out a lot of this liquidity, and we are definitely oversold. I mean, that's a monster dump there. And yes, it can keep going, but this for me is opportunity. This is dollar cost averaging opportunity, right? We just had the XRP ETF get filed at the worst possible time. Like, they came out with the news, the worst. They expended their ammunition the worst timing possible, right? I mean, they would have been better off doing it, as we were breaking out, as opposed to now. Maybe that's by design, right? Because if the ETF guys, want a piece of the action, they don't want to pay high prices. They want to have discounted prices. So what do? They get their market maker buddies, and they, obviously, I don't like to talk about manipulation, but it is what it is on some face of it, right? Now, do I think there's manipulation? Of course. If you don't think that, then, but that shouldn't be a reason. That shouldn't be an excuse, right? Because we have to, even, the charts. Basically, when you're looking at the chart, there is multiple ideas, multiple probabilities. And my idea hasn't changed at all for Bitcoin and for the altcoins, in which case there are really two ideas, there's 2 ideas at the moment. One of them is we have 3 down, we have 3 up, and this is 1, 2, 3 back down, okay? And then we get down here, we take out this liquidity, and then we rampage to the upside. And that's a WXY. That's a complex 3-wave correction in this monster wave 4, which, by the way, if we do that, it's getting a little bit out of proportion of wave 2, but typically wave 4s are bigger than wave 2s anyway. So, the main idea hasn't changed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the idea in the 4th wave, this wave here, there's a few things going on, right? Obviously, when you look at it, for example, inversely, it looks pretty bad. It actually looks bullish, right? Because you have this impulse and you have this three-wave pullback, right? So you could argue, right? This is the reaccumulation idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. And then what do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. And then you have a three-way pullback. 2. That is a nest. It's like a hornet's nest of 1, 2, 1, 2s. That is a nest of 1, 2, 1, 2s to the downside, right? So when I flip it upside down, basically our reaccumulation phase will be somewhere in this zone and could take an additional 6 months to a year. So, and that's totally on the table. It could totally happen. So just be very aware of that. The reason I don't think that's what's happening is because a lot of the altcoins already have gotten pretty hammered down. I mean, if you look at Theta, we have a completed crashing structure, right? We're back testing the top of our reaccumulation structure that we were in for June 2022 all the way to, say, February 2024. So that's almost 2 years we were in reaccumulation, right? Now we're sort of building a base in here. And one of the things I talked about in this base, right, is the potential for Wyckoff accumulation. Now, when we broke this high over here, it was less likely that was the case, but now we dropped hard, right? And we're right back in this zone in here. That's typically where we go for reaccumulation. We sort of kind of, we're going to have to stall out a little bit. Maybe a little bit more downside with some divergence, kind of round out a bit, and then start making our way back up, play around, and then break out. Back to about $1.90, $2. And then we would probably flag out. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Kind of come up here, go sideways a bit, and then continue breaking out. So that gets us all the way, spring of next year. So we could be taking some time here. This is a completed, this is a crashing structure, which means what? Which means a crashing structure means it's different than a pullback, right? A crashing structure means you have to build a base, number one. You have to have a retrace, number two. And a lot of times you have to go all the way back down into reaccumulation and then go sideways and then break out, right? So we got definitely a lot of work here. But it's crypto. Things happen very fast, right? So, just look how much difference a day can make. It can be very quick. So, let's look at Theta a little bit closer here. I actually like that right there. It looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what happens. But let me go back. So right off the bat, I see that when we put the retracement on, right? We talked about the retracements. We're right in between the 618 and the 702. This is the line in the sand right here. We don't want to fall any more than that. If we break below the 702, then it basically opens the floodgates for a potential another low, basically taking out all of this right in here, all of that. So, and then also, right, if you draw, look where we're at. We're literally at the top, back testing right in this area, right? So this is the spot where the bulls have to step up to the plate. So if they don't, so here's what I'll say. if, let's say we get a bounce, right? And then let's say we break it again. And then let's say we come back up and then we get rejected in here, then it's most likely meaning we're going to break this low. And then we'll have to reevaluate, right? It'll probably be the schematic to Wyckoff, where you have essentially a spring phase. So you kind of do this, you kind of break the low, right? Very fast, and then it comes up very fast. And then something like that, right? So that's the spring phase, that's the liquidity grab. A good example is right here. I mean, you can see something very similar is happening here. So we kind of had this M shape, right? And then we start coming down, and here's the low, right? And then we popped up, made one more low, grabbed that liquidity, and then bam, wave one, wave two, then we were off to the races. So let's just take a bars pattern just for fun. It's not going to be anywhere near the look of it, but just to get an idea. It would probably be something along these lines right in here, right? So when we compare it side by side, so it's kind of like we're right in here, which means we need another low and even potentially another low after that. So you can see we sort of had this move up, move back down, move up, move back down. And then we had this move back up, right? And then we swoop around. Maybe we swoop around. So that's a very big possibility. And if we did that, it's not such a bad thing. Remember, I've been saying for weeks and weeks now that this is a bottoming process. Actually, a month or so, that this whole thing is in a bottoming process. So we're at the top of the range, we go to the bottom of the range, top of the range, the bottom. Now, if we break out, we want to see a clear, identifiable 5-wave move. So far, we only have 3 waves, right? So basically, I'm going to be watching this level right in here and seeing if we can hold it. So let's look at the RSI. I mean, the 6-hour, we're oversold. We haven't been this oversold since the big dump back in August, right? We got hidden bullish divergence here. Let's go even to the 4 hours, probably worse. Yeah, we got the definitely oversold conditions. Hidden bull as well. So for me, this is accumulation zones, right? Not financial advice, but for me, I'm looking at this as dollar cost averaging. Anytime you get a big dip like that comes down pretty fast. Now, might not be over with. That's the thing. It might not be over. So we have to be aware of that. Now let's look at the small time frames and let's look at the wave structure here. So what I don't like is how we had a high and then it came up and took the high. A lot of times when that happens, the wave ends up being pretty big. So to me, it looks like we have a 1, 2. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 3. Maybe we go up in a 4, and then we come down, and then we get 5. And then when we turn on the 4-hour, right, and we turn on the RSI, what do we want to see? We want to see some bullish divergence. So we want this to stall out. Maybe it's got a little bit further to go. But either way, once we start retracing, we'll see the RSI come back up. And then if we get that 5th wave, we're going to want to see bullish divergence. So the price would have a lower low, but the RSI would have a higher low. And that would be a good indication maybe to go take a long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be a good spot, I would think. Now, provided we have that wave shape, that structure, right? If we keep going down, then obviously the third wave's not complete. So that's what I'm looking for the price of Theta. Something like that, where we get right in the middle of this zone in here. And then from there, we want to see a retracement back up here. And then that's where the hard stuff is, right? Because this is point A. We're approaching point B. But then obviously we need point C, right? This is the most challenging because it can turn into a larger three-wave move like that. Or we can go up, down into reaccumulation, go sideways like that, right? Obviously the ABC. So there's a couple different ways it can happen. So first order of business, let's get this third wave out of the way, the fourth wave, and the fifth wave. Now, is it possible that it's finished and we don't need to do that? It is, but I don't have the correct count for it. Let's look at some other assets. Let's look at total 3. So total 3 right now is about at that 50% area. So we could still go even lower down to the 618 and the 702. So there's still a lot of space in here for more downside. So anywhere in this zone, right in here, would be an area to look at for a reversal or even a bounce. So definitely got some work to do. As far as the wave structure goes, I'm looking at the 1 hour and I see a 1, 2, looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, all of that's 3. We bounce up for wave 4 and then we come down for wave 5. And that would probably be the area. And that would land us right around that 618, 702. So that's what I'm looking for. Something like that. Now, let's look at XRP versus Bitcoin for a minute. You know, I was liking it a little bit more yesterday, but we still have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks like an A, B, C. I mean, we have an impulse, a wave 1, and a 3-wave pullback for a wave 2. So to me, I mean, that looks bullish all day, right? And that is coming off this much larger 3-wave shape. So we have 3 down, we have 3 up, and then we have 3 back down. So we have a W, X, Y. That's a completed 3-wave move to the downside, a correction, right? And what's it correcting? It's correcting this 5-wave leg. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, W, X, Y, 3-wave pullback. And then we have an impulse off the low with another 3-wave pullback. So this thing could be, you know, that's the best looking chart right now is XRP versus Bitcoin. Let me look at Theta. So when I look at Theta versus Bitcoin, it's definitely a little different. I'm liking it as a diagonal. It actually looks pretty interesting as a diagonal. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and looks like 5. And then you have A, B, C. So typically a diagonal, right? It's overlapping 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you want a 3-wave pullback, which we got. And it typically comes back down to these areas, right? So the idea here is to establish a bottom, build a base a little bit here, and then continue rolling to the upside. So you can see on the 2-day chart, we came down quite a bit. We've taken out this liquidity down here, and we're sort of building a base near these lows, right? So that's what we want to hold. I mean, this is the area that we should hold. So, and then again, you can see that diagonal shape in there. Now, could it be a bear flag? Yes, it could be a bear flag, and we still need another low here. In which case, I would look at that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go. Right? So that if this is not a diagonal, then we're looking for a fifth wave down, and then a continuation back up. So same thing with Theta Fuel versus Bitcoin. It's got that bear flag look to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perhaps. But either way, I think we're close. T-drop. Wow, T-drop had a massive wick down here that took out that liquidity. But it got bought back up pretty quick. So, I mean, it's kind of difficult to read. But essentially, that's the area we want to hold. And this is the area we want to see accumulation get in here. And then we'll look for a retracement. But definitely have some work to do for that. So if we look at this asset, sand, we can see on the 4-hour, it does look like Wyckoff accumulation. So, you know, when we were up here, I said that's a very good chance we can get that. Not for sand, but for just in general, for a lot of these assets that look like this. So we have this sort of shape here. So you have these two examples on the screen, right? And very, very similar. So, like for example, we got 3 up, come back down, come back down, come back to the high, come back to the high, and then go boom, 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 boom. Take out the low, and that could be what we're doing. Take out the low, and then swoop up here, and then go. So that would be our Wyckoff accumulation zone. So yeah, that's definitely a contender. Or hopefully it's not so bad, and it would be something more like this, where we kind of swoop in here, make a little bit of a U shape, and then continue taking off. And that goes with Theta, that goes with basically all of them. So, except really for XRP. I mean, XRP doesn't have that look, you know, in reference to that price area. I mean, even on the bigger side of things, I mean, I guess you can kind of say like we have a 3-wave here, 3-wave here, come down, right? And then we come back up, right? Come back up, and then you kind of swoop around. So, I mean, I guess it's possible, but not really likely. Which more probable is that obviously this could be a 3-wave move down with an impulse, and we're just working out that this area in here. So obviously we have the triangle idea, we have the WXY running flat idea, so we just have to wait and see. And we also have the bull market support band, something I've been talking about a lot as well, the possibility of coming back down and testing it here. So I mean, we still haven't even tested it yet, right? I mean, since we broke above it, we broke above it and we haven't tested it yet. But the good thing is we've gotten far away from it so that when we come back down, we can have a proper test. But as far as the count for XRP, we got 1, 2, you could say 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That could be a completed crashing structure right there. So let's see if we hold some support in here, or this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have an A, and then we came up in 3. That's a B, and then now we have 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5 for C. So the whole thing would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be wave C. So A, B, C. And then hold some support in here, and then make your way for a retracement. So it's going to be all about how it handles it down in here. Now, hopefully, buyers are stepping up and defending the area. I know a lot of people got liquidated. So maybe that's enough, right? Because that's what the market likes to do. It likes to go boring sideways, pumps up. People don't believe it, pumps more. People buy it, pumps more. People buy more, and then pumps a little bit more, and then all of a sudden a lot of people get in, and then it dumps. And then it goes below where everybody bought in. And then from there, people think, okay, it's got to go lower now. When in reality, it just had to take out everybody's positions and sort of absorb all of that liquidity and then sort of reset the price. So definitely be careful out there, because it's, for me, the best strategy is the dollar cost average and to hodl. And, unless you have a clear trade setup, I wouldn't even bother at the moment, especially with all the uncertainty and with Iran and all that stuff. So anyways, I think that'll do it. Let's look one more time at Bitcoin here. I mean, we could be getting close to being finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's get 7. That'd be a 7-wave crashing structure. Or we can see again 1, 2. All of that's 3. We have a 3-way pullback for 4, and now we're getting 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that gets us back sort of in that area in here. So I say as long as we hold above 57, 58, I think we're still doing good. The problem though is we're back below the bull market support band, right? That's one thing I did not want to lose, is the bull market support band, because it's challenging getting back above it. So hopefully it doesn't spend too much time down here and we can get somewhat of a reversal. But I wanted to show this fractal, and BCB, shout out, he put this fractal up and I really like it a lot. And so much so I wanted to share it with you guys. And I think this is very interesting because, it's got the similar setup, right? We have this 3-wave move back up, and you can see, if you look closely, we dumped down, and then we came up and hit the high, and then we had an ABC pullback. Okay, so let's translate that real quick. And the best contender for me to translate that would be Theta, because of the way it's shaped, right? So, in other words, Theta is a good example for this fractal here. So we saw boom, boom, 3 up, right? So boom, boom, 3 up. And then we came down a little bit. Now, here's the part where it's a little bit weird. So here's 2 alternatives for this fractal. So number 1 is that this is an A, we come up in a B, and then we get C. And then we go up 1, 2. So that would be the other idea. That would be idea number 1 for this type of fractal. The other idea is it's the same thing, except we come up, we hit the high first, and then we come down, and then we do the ABC. So hopefully we just get it over with now and just, you know, rip the Band-Aid off. But yeah, that definitely lines up with the primary idea that I've had, which is this idea right here that I've been sharing for quite some time, at least for the last couple, maybe a week or so, which basically is the same thing that we just saw, right? We have the 3-way pullback, and then we pump to the upside, right? And then all of this is just added in. So yeah, I think it's definitely a contender here, that 3-way pullback. And that was back when Theta was $1.40 plus, right? That I was sharing this. So and where we are now is about that $1.20. We're right back in here. So we have the appropriate amount of space, but we don't have that 3-wave shape yet. So again, real fast, what I'm looking for is a retracement and another leg down potentially to finish that. And then that also correlates. So it's all about confluence. So we have the fractal, we have Wyckoff, and we have the base building, right? So everything's kind of marinating together in a thesis that makes sense. So that's what I'll leave you with, you know, with a 3-way pullback. Let's get it. And then come back up and start challenging these highs. Break out, flag out, continue higher, right? And then you can see that M shape, that Wyckoff, where we curve around, play around a little bit, break out. So that's what we want to see. And that might take all October. So there is, everybody's October. I mean, there's too much bullishness around October. If everybody's expecting it, then it's always the opposite of what people expect. And just like how they expected September to be red, it ended up being green. They expect October to be green, it'll probably be red. I'm not saying it will be. The month barely just started, right? So I would say more than green or red, I would probably say sideways, right? Finishing this base in here, just you know, accumulation, right? Back up, back down, back up, you know, that's just the way it goes. At bottoms, that's part of the bottoming process. And you can see it's taking several months, even going back to July. So really July, August, September, October. I mean, 4 months we've been going sideways in here so far, right? So it might take 5, maybe 6 months for this thing to really get going. But all in all, it's doing what it needs to do. Just remember why you're here. Remember the whole point of investing in crypto is for the long term. It's an anti-debt instrument. It's against the Fed, right? It's a hedge against inflation. It might not feel like that at some times, but it's the most volatile asset in the world, and that's what we get. So anyways, that'll do it for this video. We'll see what happens over the next 24 hours, and I'll check back in, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.